Hello everyone, I am Minaya, and today we are going to talk about Preterite versus Imperfect. So by the end of this video you will be able to tell stories, talk about funny anecdotes, talk about what was going on in a certain moment of your life, and so on. So make sure you watch this video till the end, because I'm going to explain to you the essence of these conjugations, so you can understand them from the ground up. We are also going to see in which situations to use each conjugation with examples. And last, I'm going to share with you a short story so you can internalize these concepts and know better in which situations to use each conjugation. So let's get started. First, we are going to start with the essence of preterite and imperfect. To keep it simple from the very beginning, we can see it this way. Preterite is for completed actions, and imperfect is for background, ongoing actions, and repeated actions. You can think about preterite as a snapshot and think about imperfect as a video recording. Basically, preterite tells us what happened and imperfect tells us what was going on, like what was the atmosphere, the background, the context, what action was taking place in that moment. Now we are going to see when to use preterite and when to use imperfect. Now this is a guide for you to understand better in which situations we can use these conjugations, but it is not limited to only these cases. But this list of situations in which you can use these verbs is going to help you a lot to better your understanding. So let's start with preterite. The first use is for completed actions, so we use it when an action started and finished in the past. For example, ayer comí pollo. Yesterday I ate chicken. Ella ya terminó su tarea. She already finished her homework. The second use is for actions that move the story forward. So in storytelling, preterite tells us what happened after another action. For example, entró en la casa y cerró la puerta. He entered the house and closed the door. Ella me vio y sonrió. She saw me and smiled. So as you can see, since we are talking about a series of actions, we understand them as completed actions, because we are not talking about context or background, or we are telling a story and we are talking about a series of actions that happened one after another. The third use is for interruptions, when a short action interrupts a longer one. Now this interruption is usually shorter than the other action, but it doesn't have to be like that all the time. For example, yo estudiaba cuando mi mamá me llamó. I was studying when my mom called me. Jugábamos fútbol cuando empezó a llover. We were playing football when it started to rain. The fourth use is for a specific time, but here let me clarify some things. Now if you look for information about when to use preterite, some people might say that we use preterite when we mention a specific or fixed time, like ayer, anoche, el miércoles, en 2020, etc. But I say this is not a rule, so I would recommend you to use preterite if the action was finished in the context you are talking about. Like, anoche estudié mucho. I studied a lot last night. But if the action is mentioned as background or context, and you're just talking about what was going on in that moment, then it's better to use imperfect. Like, ayer estaba comiendo cuando sonó el teléfono. Yesterday I was eating when the phone rang. So as you can see, using a fixed time doesn't mean that I need to use preterite in all the sentence. So in this case, sonó el teléfono, the phone rang, is in preterite because it is a finished action and it is also an interruption. So the context estaba comiendo, I was eating, is not in preterite just because I use a fixed time. So keeping this in mind is going to be easier to know which verb to use. Now let's see the uses for imperfect. The first use is for ongoing actions in the past, something that was happening. For example, yo estudiaba cuando me llamaste. I was studying when you called me. Ellos jugaban afuera. They were playing outside. As you can see, we are talking about actions in progress in the past. The second use is for habitual actions. It is like saying used to in English. For example, cuando era niño jugaba fútbol todos los días. When I was a kid, I played or used to play football every day. Siempre íbamos a la playa en verano. We always went to the beach in the summer. The third use is for descriptions, like background information. So we can use imperfect to describe how was the atmosphere, like to talk about the setting, the appearance of something or someone, the personality, etc. This is really useful when telling stories. For example, la casa era grande y antigua. The house was big and old. El día estaba soleado. The day was sunny. The fourth use is for time, age, and weather. So I would say this is not a rule, but many times when we talk about these things, we mention them as context or background. So we don't need to use imperfect all the time when mentioning these things, but if they are context or background, as I mentioned, then we can use imperfect. For example, eran las 3 de la tarde. It was 3 o'clock, like in the phrase, eran las 3 de la tarde cuando llegó el paquete. It was 3 o'clock when the package arrived. Hacía frío. It was cold. So if you say hacía frío, it's like I immediately feel the cold because I understand that you are describing how was the atmosphere. So I don't understand it just like a finished action that is in the past and we don't talk about it anymore. Like, hacía frío ese día. It was cold that day. Because you can say hizo frío ese día using preterite, but it sounds like it is just an action in the past. Like if you were saying just, that was a cold day. So it doesn't sound like you are narrating the story of that day or talking about the context. It sounds like you are talking about cold as the main part of that day, and you are not talking about the atmosphere or the context necessarily. Other examples for this fourth use. Tenía 8 años cuando fui de vacaciones a Londres. I was 8 years old when I went on vacation to London. Llovía mucho de camino a casa. It was raining a lot on the way home. And before finishing the video, I'm going to share with you a short story so you can use it as an exercise to understand better what you have learned. This can be really useful, especially if you have already a certain level, but if you have any question, you can always ask me in the comments. And also I'm going to give you the translation in the comments or in the description of this video. Cuando era niño, vivía en un pueblo pequeño cerca del mar. La casa era blanca y tenía un jardín grande. Todas las tardes jugaba con mis amigos en la calle y mirábamos el atardecer. Un día, mientras caminábamos por la playa, encontré una botella en la arena. La botella estaba cerrada y tenía un papel adentro. La abrí rápidamente y leí el mensaje. El mensaje decía: si encuentras esto, busca el árbol más grande del pueblo. Mis amigos y yo corrimos hacia el pueblo. El sol ya se estaba poniendo y todo parecía misterioso. Cuando llegamos al árbol, empezamos a cavar. Después de unos minutos, descubrimos una caja pequeña. La caja era de madera y estaba cubierta de tierra. La abrimos con cuidado y dentro había monedas antiguas. No sabíamos qué hacer, pero finalmente decidimos llevarlas al museo del pueblo. Ese día cambió nuestras vidas para siempre. And before ending this video, my friends, I wanted to tell you that I'm teaching Spanish on one-on-one lessons. So if you're interested, you can leave a comment and ask about the information in the comments. I hope these explanations and examples help you a lot in your Spanish learning journey. Remember that if you have any question or suggestion, you can write it in the comments down below. So that's everything for today, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.